Now what happens, and subhanAllah, this is the case of fitna always, that there are efforts to pit Salahuddin now in Egypt and Yemen against Nuruddin, his teacher, in Syria. And so the suspicion is growing, the fitna is growing. And of course, the Crusaders could want nothing more than to see these colossal leaders go at it, Nuruddin and Salahuddin. And just as that fitna is starting to grow, Nuruddin Al-Zengid rahimahullah dies a natural death in the year 1174 by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, without them ever having actually fought, which is an incredible mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the forces were being put into motion to pit these two powers against each other and to have the familiar internal turmoil within the Muslim world. But Allah Azza wa Jal spared Nuruddin from that and spared Salahuddin of that as well, and spared the ummah as a whole of that as well. In the process, Salahuddin rahimahullah ta'ala wants to continue to unify the ranks. And so he now takes the Zengid Empire and he absorbs it into the Ayyubid Dynasty, if you're looking at it from historical terms. But under his power, he now starts to bring Syria under his power as well. He takes Damascus, he takes Halab, and subhanAllah, he does things in a very diplomatic way. At the end of the day, he's trying to soften the hearts too. So wherever he can spare bloodshed and consolidating power in the Muslim world, he does so. And so the son of Nuruddin rahimahullah ta'ala was too young and quickly passes on. And the widow of Nuruddin, Ismat, is now technically in charge of the throne. And Salahuddin marries the widow of Nuruddin, and this helps consolidate power as well. So he marries the widow of his teacher, and this helps bring power as well into his ranks. And so he becomes the first Sultan of Egypt and Syria. Over time, subhanAllah, he will gain Syria, Egypt, Yemen, the Hijaz, parts of Libya, and beyond. So he consolidates beyond, and Iraq as well. He's given legitimacy. In Baghdad, he's given legitimacy as well. So this is a man, subhanAllah, who consolidates power and who sees the importance of unifying the Muslim ummah before you can take on a monster like the Crusaders. And that is perhaps one of the most important lessons in studying Salahuddin, that even a man as brilliant and remarkable as him knew that it was important to solidify everything around as well. That Jerusalem has to be the central focus, but Jerusalem cannot be the exclusive focus of reformation, of restoration of the ummah. That it was important to unify the ranks and solidify the ranks as he gained focus and he started to focus the Muslim world on what was happening in Jerusalem. And subhanAllah, of his greatest qualities, this is a remarkably patient man. It took him 1 decade to do this. For 2 years, he was operating in Egypt under a dawla that was completely foreign to him. And within 10 years, he survives over 20 assassination attempts. And you know, when Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhuma says about the ayah, لَمَّا صَبَرُوا وَكَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يُوقِنُونَ, that Allah made them imams when they were patient and when they had certainty in our ways. SubhanAllah, look at the man's patience. He's always optimistic, he's always determined, he's always resilient. He operates at a pace of his own, where he's not hasty. He's very wise about everything he's doing. He's very calculated about everything he's doing. But at the same time, he always sees that important moment where he can take that next step. Now you have to think about the Crusader perspective. The Muslims are coming together. Therefore, Jerusalem is at risk of falling to the Muslims once again. Nuruddin's protege is growing in power. We suddenly can't keep them fractured. And you have to understand that our enemies always want to weaken us from within through the tactic of division. The Romans were thrilled with the wars amongst the Sahaba because that gave them a chance to breathe with everything that was happening prior to that. And here they are thrilled, the Crusaders were thrilled with all the internal turmoil and dynasties that were at competition in the Muslim world so that they could continue to just take more and more and more and exploit it without finding any real competition.